Yep.
Oh my god.
It's the same as the other ones.
Hello, so basically I'm the team. Hello, I'm basically the leader of this project, the Weekly project. I was saying it about the educational based.
Yeah.
Oh right, okay. So this project is basically the area of Zuko. It's an educational based game where the players are required to obviously find the different species of animals, including snakes and frogs and lizards. There's going to be day-night mode, so the player can choose whether to do it in day or night.
Should I?
Yeah, that's fine. So this is the mind map. So basically, the team individually made a mind map and then we've combined it. So obviously it's like sound, assets, culture, locations, mechanics, market and environment, just, you know, to get a basic idea of what needs to be included into the project. So this is the Gantt chart, so this is obviously the project management board, so obviously the different tasks week by week, just so we know, stay on track. Obviously this was the last half, so maybe it'll be a good idea to make a new one for this half project. So who is that?
Oh, that'll be me. Hello, I'm Ben Langford. Work here is a mood board of the environmental images that we sent to us by yours truly. So yeah, so using the references that were sent to us, so I compiled all these like images to get a basic idea of the layout of the rainforest and the nature preserve. I tried to make sure to pick out all of the key pieces, points of interest, such as like rivers, waterfalls, forests, campsites and such. I believe there's another one on the other side. Yeah. Talk about the like the main campsite area and like the shape of the whole rainforest area, campsites. Yeah. Just more to say. Yeah.
Right, okay, so this slide is demonstrating the skills that I've learned for the project. So foliage painting, landscape painting and the introduction to material creation. So obviously creating the different textures for the landscape that's going to go into the project. And being able to paint foliage. Obviously there's a lot included. Yeah, so that's kind of the basics that I've learned in Unreal basically. So this is the procedural foliage, which is the quick way of doing it basically, so you can obviously when I get the different plant species and stuff like that, it can just be randomised to make it look more natural, more realistic. It'll be more obviously jungly and stuff like that. So there's rivers in there, so this is, I've learned the basics of water systems, trying to create like waterfalls, rivers, and caustics in the water. So yeah, that can be then implemented into the project. So this one is more to do with like creating the materials of the landscape. So I've tried like different techniques that, you know, alternatives that could be used. Found a piece of software that you can make your own foliage basically. So if I can't find anything specifically, I can make my own or enhance it in any way and then import that into the project. And the nanites as well, that obviously it needs to look like realistic, so turning on nanite just enhances the visuals of assets that I put in, anything like that. Right, so far, built the landscape. This is like the basic version from the level design map that was created. So yeah, so I've done the basic map where the camp would be, just applied some foliage with nanite, put a river through the middle. Obviously it's a process of getting, there's still more to do. So this is, obviously I've edited a lot, so the materials are on there now that can be painted on. I've done all the level design, like the pathways up, I've flattened the campsite. There's a couple of models in there already that'll be mainly used, and then I've started on like the rock wall, but obviously in front of that will be loads of foliage and, well, everywhere it will be, and then put like small lake. Obviously there's going to be streams and stuff like that. I think that is, oh right, yes. So basically the next stage, so the document that was given, so I went through that, googled, well, researched all the plants like that are on the mountaintop and in the camp. So in Unreal, the online store, basically I've tried to find the ones that match the plants, because obviously these ones are, so I've had to try and find similar ones, and they're already downloaded in a project, ready to be painted on, and then obviously the tree selection as well. So yeah, once that goes in, start looking more decent, basically.
More gently.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Emily and I'm the lead for the 3D modelling team, and I've been working on quite a few 3D models for this project already. So far I've got the radio done and the microscope. Both of these have been redone recently, so you'll see them in a minute. But those are the first iterations of them. The radio's actually been redone twice because I just ended up not being happy with it, but it's looking good now. And then I went on to doing chalkboard and then redoing the radio. So that's the second iteration at the top of the radio. So I've applied normal maps onto them to make them a little bit like bumpy and just a little bit more detailed. So they're looking a bit nicer now. Okay. And then I looked into cloth. So something that I worked on a lot was going towards the tents. So making tents for the project, which you'll see in a minute. So to do that, I've had to look a little bit into the cloth modifier on software to make the tents look a little bit nicer. And those are so we've got the shelter in the bottom right, which is a finished model, but I might look into that again. I've also looked into people, which I'm looking at again now. So these are just some model sheets from looking at the references that you've given us, just looking at the different clothes that you wear over there. So I've done the model sheets for them, and I'm working off them now to make people.
Okay.
And then that's the first iteration of the people. Again, I'm working on it. That's a very early stage of people. And then this is going on to the tents. So again, through your references, I've tried to match the tent as much as I possibly can. They get then put under the shelter cover that you've seen on the previous slide. So I've tried to match them with your reference.
They look I can see that the zips are probably going to break on those tents, just like they do in the real situations.
Okay. And then that's the two put together. So you've got the text and the colours on top. And again, I've tried to make them as close as I possibly can to your reference.
Looks very basic.
Okay. And then I've moved on to a generator, which was a little bit more complicated. So this is a few of the screenshots I took whilst modelling it. So very early stage and then just gradually building up until I got into the smaller details. So yeah, very complicated model to do. And then that's the final thing with all the textures and stuff on it. So I've tried to add in as much detail as I possibly can into the model. It was difficult, but I'm pleased with it. And then that's just some of the models that have been put into the game already. Just to get them in there, just to make sure that they're right scale. And then that's the recreation of the radio and the microscope. So the radio has been completely redone. I've completely remodeled it, and I just retextured the microscope. So they look a little bit more bashed up.
I was the environmental concept artist for the project. I've done different concepts of the campsite and the forest. I did one themed around deforestation, as evident by the grey sky and the grey fog. Next. For these ones, I experimented with different paintbrush shapes. Like for this one, I used a scattered paintbrush to draw the bushes and the foliage in the sky. And for this one, I used soft brushes, and I also incorporated shading into the area to make it stand out a bit more. And these last two I did from scratch rather than tracing over concept images. That one I wasn't too pleased with because of how flat it was. This one I was a bit more pleased with because it was more angled and perspective. At one point I did some concepts for the assets that I planned to model at one point, but I would eventually get around to doing it, but it's not all of these drawn assets were modeled by me. And this is my last environmental concept inside the Kusuko camp. I used gauge en bleu for the fire and the shadows. And I also used shading for the incorporated lighting onto the support beams. And these are the work in progress models that I'm working on. They will be tested in the near future as well as some others.
Hi, I'm Sarah. So to start with, I worked on some of the pig work and behind the scenes stuff, so the mind map to get ideas of what we should put in and things like that, and then just some of the other pig work was a bit boring, so we'll move on. Then I did some concept art for how we wanted the game's UI stuff to work, like the main menu and things like that, so I took inspiration from a sign that's in the park itself, and thought that would be a good way to create the menu, the little slats would be clickable buttons to go through the options and that. And then over on the other side is just how the top ones are how information could be displayed in the game, and then the ones on the leaf with the numbers, obviously how many of the animals the player has found. Yeah. So that's that. These were some models I made first but without their textures. The first aid box I've redone because I made that and it looks awful, so we're not using that one. The wrong mat I did however, so I have textured that, so they're the early ones. And then I worked on the code, which looks very boring, but in the game it looks pretty cool. So this code basically brings up the inventory and allows the player to see the creatures they've collected, and it will show that information later when someone else is doing that code. But and they can also move it around basically the inventory if they want to like reorganise or stuff. They can choose how to do that. And then this is the roll mats textured, and I did 4 different colours, so there's some variety. And that's, yeah, I quite like these. I tried to make them look nice and dirty, so they were used and, you know, in a muddy environment. And then that's the first aid box that I remodeled and textured, and looks a lot better than the first one I tried. And then also you've made it look muddy and dirty and used and a bit old and battered, basically. I don't know if I've got... Oh yeah, I worked on texturing a lizard. So the top one was when I put the underbelly like scales on it. I can't remember which one this was because the names are a bit too complicated for me.
Well, I have put the English names in as well, so you can refer to them.
Yeah, I can't remember the English name, but hopefully it looks like what it's supposed to. I don't know if it does or not, but I do need to redo the legs a little bit because they look a bit awful, but I'm quite happy with the face and the back, and the underbelly scales look really cute. And it's one of the ones that's like itty bitty, so it's adorable. Yeah. I love it. And then I'm currently working, it's supposed to be a welly boot. I'm not entirely sure what it is right now, but hopefully it will look like a welly boot when I'm done with it. And then going forward, I'm just going to be making more models, and I think, yeah, mostly just models and stuff to go in. That's it so far for me. Thank you.
I think you'll probably have to do Kelly's stuff again.
Yeah, she's not here today.
Okay, so Kelly has been working on mostly coding. So she's done just her own mind map at the start, just to get her ideas down, and she's done some UI research, it seems. So she's working on the tooltip. So when you collect the frogs and any of the animals, then you can see what the animal is when you hover over it. So that's what she's been working on. And
This is some of my stuff.
oh,
So for this project, mostly I've started initially again like one of my Sarah doing some of the initial sort of behind the scenes paperwork sort of side. I also have done a mood board of some of the different animal species that were found in the park. Also did a 3D model of that needs redoing because it doesn't look very good. And yeah, same up here, even a test sheet and GDD, and then what I'm currently working on, which is a model of one of the tables that features in the camp.
For my contribution, as you've already seen the mood boards I've done, I did a section on the GDD. I talked a bit about similarities to Planet Zoo and Pokemon Go with not Pokemon Go with new Pokemon Snap with menus and such, and also with it has several fact files on creatures that feature in their games and such. So I thought that was a good correlation between those previous works and what we're doing right now. And as for 3D modelling, I did a book which is a nice little prop to place in the caps and such. This is a bench that people just sit on. It's made out of logs. Next slide, please. And this is a water tank, so it's going to be filled with clean water for people to open up and get water in. And I started texturing a couple of species of snakes. It's got the Latin names next to the English names. I might tweak some of these later just to make them a little bit better. But yeah, I'm quite happy with these so far. Great.
I finished everything. So the first thing I did was coding, and I added a torch, so you can turn that on and off with F. And then a pickup, so you can basically pick up any sign, object, or frog, or whatever. These are some animal concepts that I did. So just a
so there's some of them are really rare. Yeah, no, it's great.
These are the salamanders I've done. There's 9 and a couple of different variants of them. And then my current is lizards.
Yeah. Brilliant.
So I think was it last year?
So how long ago now? About 3 years ago, was it, Steve? I think since we last did it, or something like that.
I think it started 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I think it kind of it must be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically 3 years ago, then the old team, they made it, but they made it in Unreal 4. And we transferred it to Unreal 5. There were some collision problems, so I fixed those, and map was way too big, so I scaled it down, and then I basically updated it as well. So this is sort of the Photoshop map that I managed to sort of what it's sort of meant to be. But poor Chloe, we found out that landscape?
The landscape terrain, yeah.
Yeah, it
The
was
water
broken,
it was.
and we had to redo it all. So Chloe's now redoing that. I've moved on to coding, and I've managed to get some UIs in. I haven't put it on the slide yet because that's still packaging. But I've got some UIs in, and I'll be working on the day-night system, score point system, and keeping track of frogs and that lot as well. That's pretty much it.
Going on mainly on the 3D team. Started off by creating the mood board for the campsite that you've given us images for. So then it's like a section of the GDP document we're doing, which right now I've just done on the objective side of the game for both the real life objective and the in-game objectives. And so these are some early models that I've done, like the first couple months.